So, hello everyone. Welcome if you are new to the channel, and welcome back if you love me. I love you too. This is the cosmic currency, or the astrological breakdown of the new moon in Leo that's going on today. So, we're going to talk about a few things. This is the chart that we're looking at. And these are the main aspects that we're going to be reviewing, okay? Dealing with the majors in the zodiac and the different things that they are touching on, okay? The sun and moon. Now, this is based off of 4:40 in the morning, Central Standard Time. So if you're an hour later, the clock, quote unquote, ticks this way. So if you are an hour ahead of me, right, let's just say in Eastern Daylight Time, all of these things would click up by one house. So we're dealing with the sun and moon in the first house here, but it's going to be a little different depending on the hour and the time zone that you are in. So Eastern Daylight Time, Leo would be here in the 12th house. If you are in Mountain Time Zone, it would all be clicked under in the second. If you're California time, right, Pacific Standard Time, it would all be clicked down here in the third. So you guys will have to adjust it for the different houses that it rules for you. But we're going to talk about a few things, okay? The first aspect being the sun and moon in Leo, which is right down here, and how it's sextiling on Mars and Jupiter in Gemini. Okay, it's sextiling Mars and Jupiter in Gemini. Both of them are quincunxing on Ceres. And Ceres is retrograding in Capricorn, creating a yod, where Ceres is the apex of the yod, meaning the quincunxes are both aiming at Ceres. Ceres is T-squaring the nodes of fate and destiny in Aries and Libra, okay? Anytime we have squares and things like that, there's challenges here, okay? Same thing goes with the sesquiquadrate, which is a lesser known aspect, still a challenging one. It's a square and a half. The sun and moon to Neptune retrograding in Pisces. And then they're semi-squaring Juno in Virgo. Neptune and Virgo being in opposition. All right. What is this? What does this mean? With Jupiter and Mars here in Gemini. Gemini is our mirror of experience. It's how we are educated in life. The mirror of Gemini, the twins, the masculine and the feminine, how the inner reflects in the outer, is in agreement with this creative energy coming from Leo. You know, Leo naturally rules the 5th house of passion, purpose. It's in the sign of the self right now, the house of the self. There's an inner communication happening, a mirror going on that's relatively easy to see, that's beneficial with Jupiter, and it's helping you understand where Ceres is retrograde. So Ceres, for those of you who are not familiar, Ceres is a dwarf planet in the asteroid belt. It is the largest object in the asteroid belt and the only quote unquote perfect sphere. It is theorized that Ceres is the remaining core of the destroyed planet that created the asteroid belt. Okay. The asteroid belt is the border between the inner planets, the more personal planets, and the outer planets, which is more collective influence. Our inner world and our outer world. and how we understand the connection between the two. And it's broken, which is why a lot of people do not understand the divine mirror. It's why they don't understand how they manifest what they manifest. So with the Yod being in connection to Ceres from the sun and moon and Jupiter and Mars, especially Mars, we're taking actions to learn about pride and our ego. Hey, Kelly. We're taking these actions towards better understanding how our heart gets broke. Because if you think of Ceres, I always kind of describe Ceres as the broken heart chakra, where our heart chakra, or our core center, right? If you think about the heart chakra, there's 3 chakras above it and 3 chakras below it. It's our core, it's our center, and it's broken. Ceres in mythology is Demeter, and Demeter is Persephone's mother, and she goes through this nuclear winter, right, where she's upset and having to reassess the situation and deal with loss. And she doesn't deal with it very well, right? Everything goes winter, everything dies off, it goes cold in anticipation of the spring, in anticipation of Persephone's return from the underworld of Hades. And if you think about Ceres in terms of the self, how we connect our inner world with our outer world, the different communications that are coming in, especially from other people, whether it is friendship circles and soul tribe, or career, workplace type scenarios and things like that, depending on your time zone. These conversations that we're having with people are really divine, and they're helping us see not only what we are creating, but what we really would prefer or want to create, because new moons are clean slates, right? It's like a blank canvas of energy. So when we're talking about the new moon at the 12-degree conjunction in sextile to Jupiter and Mars, learning this series lesson in Capricorn, it's how we dictate, how we choose to delegate our energy to people, where we are investing in things, what is and what is not a good investment. Are we investing in certain relationship dynamics because there's some kind of wound going on beneath the surface? Are we investing in certain dynamics because there is benefit and improvement in your life in some way? There's a reevaluation happening. This is the whole point of the sextile, right? The whole point of Jupiter and Mars being in sextile to the sun and moon is to help you figure out what is and what is not worth investing in. Where does your heart hurt? Where does your heart hurt? What is absent that you wish would return? And what is in the way of it? Because what is in the way of it is Hades, right? It's Pluto. What is in the way of it is Pluto. If you think about Hades and Pluto in mythology, that is where Persephone goes, right? What deeply transformative circumstance or deeply transformative dynamic shift do you have going on that is preventing you from having what you want? Unjustly so, right? Persephone should have never been abducted by Hades without her consent. Like, there was this rip apart, right? This rip apart between the mother and daughter, which is the feminine, the mature feminine, and the inner child feminine. Where the inner child's feelings, right? When you were a kid, where your feelings were hurt. What is buried What is buried 6 feet under, you know, with Pluto, that has been suppressed? What wound has been suppressed that is keeping you from attaining what it is you want? What is in the way? What energy investment are you making that is not paying off? It's not paying off the way you wanted. How can you remove it? Right? What steps can you take to realign the way you invest your energy? Who or what do you want to give it to? And who or what do you need to take it away from then? Right? Your energy. Can you make the hard decisions? Right? Capricorn is the CEO archetype of the zodiac. They are the ones that hire and fire people, right? Capricorn hires and fires. So if you have people in your life that are not performing the way that they should, if you have certain situations in your life that are not yielding the result that you want, can you find it in yourself to let it go, to renegotiate the contracts in your life? That is the big yod. The challenges that we have, right? The sesquiquadrate to Neptune and the semi-square to Juno in Virgo. Virgo is all about due diligence and the perfection of a task. Juno is about the high feminine or high commitments and the shadow of seeking revenge as a light attribute. Why it is important to vindicate the self. Vindicating the self is important, which is admitting, right? Admitting that there was a mistake somewhere, because Virgo in its shadow is highly self-critical. And in the challenge position, we don't want to see how what we've created, what we were passionate about, how it has interfered with our very narrow path, our highest good path, and being on it. There are certain high contracts that we feel we can't get rid of, and it deals with power and control. With Neptune being sesquiquadrate, you have to understand whatever is in misalignment is likely lying. It's likely lying to you. It's likely going back on things that it's said. It's likely breaking promises and things like that. It's like propaganda in your real life. People who are saying one thing to your face, but doing another behind closed doors. You're dealing with the illusion, the challenge, right? The shadow of Neptune, which is the delusion, the need, right? For our inner demons to try and justify the fantasy that is truly delusional and is not the reality, right? There's a part of the ego, the part of pride, the shadow of pride, that doesn't want to let go of the fantasy or the delusion that we've created in the pursuit of perfection with people that we've considered high partnerships that are not actually in alignment with what it is that we want to create, with the life that we could actually be proud of. And we have a choice to make, right? The T-square going on from Ceres to the node, South Node being conjunct Black Moon Lilith. Are we going to choose to heal the self? Are we going to rise and evolve into the new version of ourselves? Or are we going to stay in the self-abandonment with past life partnerships and let the sun set, which is the symbol of Libra? The sun sets in the 7th house. Are we going to let the sun set on our liberation and continue to abandon the self in partnerships that are in misalignment? Can you choose what you really desire, what you really want, what you really need to put that energy in towards? Or are you going to fall back into patterns that you've always been in, trying to make everybody else happy before yourself? Right? Everybody else's happiness, everybody else's well-being is more important than yours. This is the challenge, especially because the North Node is in Aries. Mars, which is ruled by Aries, is really pushing with Jupiter, like really pushing the mirror of the self, really putting it in front of your face to see. Mars and Jupiter, and I talked about this a little bit when Mars went into Gemini, and it's being blown up now. A shadow of Mars, if you want to know if someone is or isn't in alignment with you, one of the shadows of Mars and Gemini is verbal abuse. It's verbal abuse. People who are, at the very least, rude, malicious in their words and their actions, right? Because Mars rules actions. What are they doing to spite you? Are they being petty? Are they being petty? And doing things to hurt you because they have some kind of hurt within themselves that they're projecting at you that is unjust. It's not fair. You know, maybe you did something innocently. Maybe you did something out of compassion to help someone, but the way that they took it was like a slap in the face, and now they're being petty and taking actions to spite you or saying things to hurt you. Because if that is the case, especially because we have this trine energy going on, it's helping you see what's in misalignment. It's misaligned. We have, in the second aspect, Mars and Gemini conjunct Jupiter, sextiling the North Node and trine the South Node. It's frustrating, right? When someone is in misalignment with you, it's frustrating. It's creating blocks. You want to communicate things and you can't because it results in something sabotaging. That's how you know someone is in misalignment with you and your highest good right now. If they are popping off at the mouth or doing things to spite you, they are not in your highest good. And it's helping you see this, where your disconnect is, where you're investing in certain people, investing in their happiness above your own, and to no avail. Right? And the only reason you may be holding on to it is ego or pride, or you've already invested so much, it's like you'd rather double down or triple down than cut the loss, which you might have to do. Ceres is retrograde. You might have to cut the loss. As we get deeper into this Mars and Jupiter energy in the second aspect, that it's talking to the nodes the way it is, there's this challenging triangle going on where Jupiter and Mars are in square to Saturn retrograde, and Saturn retrograde is in semi-square to Pluto, who is sesquiquadrate back at Jupiter and Mars. Pluto being retrograde at the 0 degree of Aquarius. The higher vibration or the higher octave of the air signs with Pluto there. Pluto's a big transformative agent, right? It's a powerhouse. It's a power reserve, and it's deep, deep energy. With Saturn, there's an order to it, but the order is exceptionally painful. To continue pursuit or to stay stubborn in this energy with this challenge going on, it becomes excruciatingly painful by divine order. And the longer you stick it out, the more stuck long-term you get, because Saturn is long-term. Saturn runs in 30-year cycles. So if you can't rise to the challenge where you have to initiate, right, Mars, initiate in a big way divine order to change your reality, to change the experience that's teaching you. If you're having a difficult time bringing order to your subconscious, bringing order to your fear state, this is the challenge we're meant to rise to. If you're having a difficult time doing that, bring order to your deep and suppressed wounds, especially in relation to how you protect and provide in your reality. Saturn is Capricorn's planet, right? How you dictate your soul. What kind of punishment are you choosing for yourself? Because if you continue to stick it out and triple down or double down or whatever it is you're doing with soulmates that need to be released, the longer you hold on, the more difficult it gets to let go and the more painful it becomes. It's brutal. Pluto's brutal. It knows no limits. Pluto is that far out planet that's like, it's okay. If you don't learn it this lifetime, we're just going to bring you back so you can learn it next one. You know, there is no end to the suffering until you choose it. You have to choose your way out of it. Pluto will give you lifetime upon lifetime upon lifetime to learn it. It's what your ancestors didn't learn. It's what your parents didn't learn, and your grandparents didn't learn, and their parents didn't learn. The reincarnation of the soul pieces. What we inherit and haven't healed, right? It becomes really painful the longer you stick in it. Along with that, Mars in Gemini is also semi-square Chiron retrograding in Aries. What you choose to do to yourself and your experience challenges your wounds. Chiron is the martyr. It's where we give and sacrifice ourselves into oblivion. Chiron ultimately loses his mortality as a mercy because of fatal wounds that could not be healed. The challenge is the fatal wound and how much we decide to give and sacrifice, how much we martyr the self only to end up getting shit on by the reality. You can't actually double down, triple down, quadruple down right now. As much as you want to, the pain energy coming from these transits is brutal. It's brutal. I mean, you can, free will choice, you could do whatever you want. If you feel like you deserve to be punished, you know what I mean? Like, by all means, stick it out. Stick it out. Sacrifice yourself, right? This is Aries. It's the ruler of the first house. Sacrifice yourself. Sacrifice your ability to do and create. It's giving your power away. When you sacrifice the ability to do and create for the happiness of other people, that you make other people or other situations your sole purpose in being, you're sacrificing your ability to choose, you're sacrificing your ability to act, you're sacrificing certain things that you want to do and create. And it hurts. It hurts deeply beneath the surface. Saturn and Pluto are outer planets. It's all below the surface. People don't see the pain. It's an internal suffering, a suffering in silence kind of energy, especially because Pisces is reserved. It's in the 12th house of secrets. Things that we keep buried in our subconscious that we think about and feel about, but don't talk about. We'd rather forget. Saturn in Pisces in misalignment is going to want to drink it down. It's going to want to smoke it down. It's going to want to take pills. It's going to want to go out and gamble. It's going to want to shop it away. It's going to want to escape, right? The shadow of Pisces is escapism. If you're in deep suffering and deep sacrifice of the self, it's going to be brutal to your health because your psychological world, you haven't brought order to it. Saturn demands order. And if you are escaping, cleaning up your shit, if you are escaping the high commitment to the self, doing the task, being due diligent, doing what you have to do to avenge the self with Juno, you're going to try and escape. These people who are brutal in their words and actions, who are being petty to spite you and verbal abuse and things like that, like, you're going to try and drink it away. You're going to try and escape it away, play video games for hours and hours and hours and pretend it's not happening. Pretending life doesn't feel as bad as it does, right? It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. And this is why talking about these aspects is so important, because collectively we're all feeling this. We're all feeling it in some which way, shape, or form. Where does Leo fall in your birth chart or your progressed chart? Where is Mars and Jupiter at? Where's Saturn? Where's Pluto? Where's Chiron? Because this is the divine pain center, the divine discomfort, doing its damnedest to make you so uncomfortable in what is familiar that you would actually rather have the unknown and face the fear of the unknown, because what is familiar is brutal. What is familiar is brutal. We're talking about long-standing karmic relationships. Long-standing karmic relationships. People that we have known in past lives, that have come back in this life, that we've attached ourselves to in soul because it's familiar. But what's familiar is painful. Okay. The third aspect that we get into is Venus in Leo. She's at 29 degrees, an anaretic degree of Leo, in square to Uranus, which in Taurus is Venus's home sign. She's squaring her home sign and she's squaring Uranus. Now, Uranus and Venus squares and fixed signs asks for permanent change. It's a challenge that you rise to, as all squares are. It's a challenge that you rise to that requires permanent, fixed change. Uranus is a wild card. And as much as Mars is associated with the Tower in tarot, the tarot was created before the discovery of Uranus, but Uranus is the lightning. The Tower, to me, is Uranus. It is the humbling. It is the revelation of the heart space. The heart space in Leo that is completely gassed out. Completely gassed out. Venus has nothing left. Venus square Uranus in Taurus might look like severe financial trouble, feeling broke, having lots of debt, or random out of the blue wild card expenses coming up in an already difficult situation, an already gassed out situation. Hi, Kristen. Hi, Tanya. It's also pouring good money on top of bad and making it bad. The Venus at 29 degrees Leo, being in square to Uranus, is radically breaking through or shattering pride when it comes to the heart space and things where people or situations that we've poured our love and money into. Venus is love and money, especially money. We've poured so much money and so much love into certain things. And it's becoming impossible, right? With Uranus here, it's becoming impossible to maintain it. If you are in misalignment in a certain area of your life, or if something is in misalignment, financially, you might feel like it's chipping away at you. It's chipping away at you. It might be taking huge chunks. It might be taking huge chunks with Uranus. And at some point, if you are not rising to the challenge of it, it might be a complete breakdown, right? A leveling of the field. Especially because Mercury is going retrograde tomorrow and it's going to pass by Venus. It's going to retrograde past Venus. And Mercury, you know, a planet of the mind, yes, but Mercury and merchant, right? MERC, Mercury and merchantry are all here. It's all about money. It's all about exchange. It's all about the mind and how we trade energy with people. What we're mentally investing in. It's going back in Virgo and dipping into Leo. It's going to cross this point here. It's going to cross the same point and square to Uranus. It's when you reach that moment, like, what am I doing? Right? What am I doing? I'm trading a penny for a dollar. I'm literally giving away a dollar and getting a penny. You're realizing that certain people or certain energies in your life are like fucking con artists and they're just benefiting off of you. They're opportunists. They're gaining off of your kindness. They're gaining off of your ignorance to their hidden agendas. Their hidden agendas. Venus is the apex of a yod with Neptune retrograding at 29 degrees in Pisces and Pluto. Pluto and Neptune are in sextile. And they're both quincunxing on Venus. Quincunxes are wild cards. And they could be wildly good or wildly bad. The delusion and how painful it is might radically shift the heart space, and you might come out of it like this what I have believed in, right? What I have deeply believed in for so long is so dang painful. What am I doing? You might have that revelation. It might be a painful revelation, but you might have that revelation. The light side of this yod is huge transformation of perspective, seeing things from the divine's eyes, right? The higher self, seeing things from the divine's eyes, and the faith that it has in you to wake your heart up, to wake your heart up. It's like being jump-started, right? Like the battery's been dead. The heart, it's been dead. And all of a sudden, Uranus comes in like a jump start. And you're like, holy shit, I still feel. I still matter. I still have choices. My finances, right, are salvageable if I make crucial cuts to the delusion. If I start to see things differently and dredge up the deep and buried stuff I've been trying to escape. The financial aspect of it is salvageable if you can cut through the delusion and see things from the divine's eyes. You could move into Virgo, right? Venus moving into Virgo with your heart in alignment, taking the steps one step at a time to recovery. Recovering yourself, recovering partnerships that might have been let go of when you were in your own self-abandonment, when you didn't deserve to receive it because you didn't feel deserving of receiving it. There's a major reevaluation happening here, especially because Mercury, the only thing that Mercury is communicating with is a semi-sextile directly to Lilith. I abandoned myself. I didn't feel deserving enough to receive it. My actions and my choices at the time blocked me from receiving whatever the high energy was. Hey, Risa. And it's a big deal. Unlocking that yod. The yods, if you don't know what a yod is, they coined it the finger of God. That is the nickname for a yod. If God were to point in a direction and say, focus on this, look at this, that's your key out of karma. That's the key. If you've got a key ring with 1,000 keys and you're trying to get into this door, God's finger is pointing at that one and saying, try this key. Try this key. These are your two yods. These are your two yods. They're golden. Acknowledging that your heart is gassed out and that you have absolutely invested enough love and money in a certain direction. It's gassed out. To look at how you've been escaping the reality for some fantasy, some pride-based fantasy, and that you weren't seeing things from the divine's eyes because you were locked into your egoic tunnel vision. The divine is saying, use this key, open the door. Your finances will correct themselves. Your heart will become alive again, like a defibrillator, just boom, bringing you back to life. The challenge is wanting to be revived. Feeling dead inside is familiar. That's the problem. You're not used to living. Collectively, people are not used to truly living. They're breathing, their heart's beating in this meat suit that they're in, but they don't feel alive. The challenge is welcoming feeling alive. But that's the key. Wanting to live, truly live a life that you are proud you chose, that you are grateful for choosing. What would you be grateful for? What would you be grateful for? Right, we were talking about the 𝐴𝑠𝑞𝐵 to the sun and moon conjunct with the new moon in Leo to Neptune. The challenge in that your fantasy, whoever is in the fantasy, the delusion, is lying to you, and they've got hidden agendas. They've got self-motivated hidden agendas because they're escaping their own soul work, and they're using you to avoid it. And you want to believe the bullshit. You want to believe it. You've invested in it big time. That's like being the boss of your life, right? And one of the people in your life shows up late to work every day. And every day they're costing you money. Every day they're making mistakes. Every day they're just showing up late and disrespecting your life. Your company is your life. And you've been sympathizing with them. You've been letting their excuses go. You've been giving them a million chances because they have so much potential to be a great employee, a great person in your life. And you want to buy the bullshit. And they're telling you, oh, you know, I've been dealing with these car troubles, you know. I was late this morning because my battery died and blah, blah, blah. And they've been giving you these excuses with their car when really they're just staying up late, drinking, being irresponsible, rolling out of bed late, snoozing their alarms. It's not because of anything to do with their car. Their car is fine. But you don't want to believe the truth of it. You might even have given them a raise to buy a new car, to afford a new car, to start saving for a new car. You might have gone above and beyond to help this person in your life get better. And they keep making shitty choices. At some point, when do you realize that this person or situation is playing you? And they don't care about changing. They don't want to change. They don't want to. Matter of fact, the raise you gave them just allows them to buy more towards whatever they were using to escape. Just makes them worse. The heart is gassed out. The funds are gassed out. The ego is wearing really, really thin. And the pride is hurt. The pride is hurt. And it might continue to come about in radical ways. The delusion is real. When are you going to accept not being lied to? When are you going to accept that you are not a fool, but you are being played like one and you're allowing it, which makes you a fool? It makes you foolish. You most certainly would feel foolish. Right? Uranus rules the Fool card in the tarot. It rules Aries. You're jumping off a cliff for people who wouldn't jump off a cliff for you. Matter of fact, they're glad that you jumped off the cliff because now they don't have to. Right? This is the realization. We've made bad investments. We've made bad investments. And it's okay if you learn from it. It's okay if you learn from it, right? We've got Venus and Leo trine Chiron and Aries, and Eris and Aries. We can actually hold gratitude with Venus and Leo for the realization that we were martyring the self, that someone was a chaos agent, Eris, that someone was a chaos agent and brought our wounds up to the surface to see. That we weren't looking at the face value reality of the experience and what it was teaching us. We can hold gratitude for it. That's the blessing in here. That's the trine. That's the blessing. You can actually heal the self through a stroke of chaos. And heal your heart space. Can you imagine what it's like to cut off someone who is consistently draining your finances? Can you imagine how good it must feel to cut off someone who's been consistently lying to you and taking your kindness for weakness? Who's been using your pride against you because you don't want to be wrong about them and they know it? You don't want to be wrong about them. You want to be right, and they know it. And they keep pushing that boundary. But Venus is reaching that point where that boundary is about to break. That line is about to get crossed. You can only be pushed so far before it hurts so bad that you're like, fuck this. It is fucking painful. I would rather Jupiter, right, Zeus, take my immortality and relieve me of the pain of this fatal, self-sacrificing wound. I don't want to suffer anymore. This suffering is a choice that I've been making, and I don't want to suffer anymore. I don't have anything left to give. I have nothing left. My heart, my bank account, my credit cards are maxed. I got nothing left. They've literally taken you for everything. To where you might radically shift your realities. You might take losses. You might lose things or possessions, Taurus, right? In the process. Depending on how aspected this is in your own chart, you could lose a home. You could lose anything with the word my in front of it. Taurus rules the word my. It's my car. It's my house. It's my furniture. It's my children. It's my family. It's my. Anything with my in front of it. It might come at a huge cost. You might lose multiple things that you've invested in depending on how deep you are inside this cycle, how long you've been escaping divine order to your soul. This is the key. Spirit said this is the door that you can walk through. And here's the key. This is the one you use. Radically shift your reality. Radically shift. Take the lessons. Take the lessons of experience and use it to transform your perspective, no matter how painful it is. Stop escaping your reality or making excuses for it and believing the lies. You don't need to be treated like a fool anymore. You don't need to feel foolish. People who choose things that literally hurt your pride. Leo gives its all to whatever it does. It gives its all. It's life force energy ruled by the sun. Hey, Lala. And someone took your kindness, your generosity as a weakness. Someone that you were maybe very, very connected to with Juno, right? The semi-square that the sun is having with Juno, with this opposition is having to Neptune. A delusional partnership of some kind where you took a lot of steps in pride and generosity to make it something that it was never going to be. How do we open the door and reverse that? We've got to heal. We've got to accept the fact that we've got a Chiron wound that someone activated and we poured our fucking hearts out until there was nothing left. And they never wanted to heal. They never wanted to dream. They were surviving off your delusion. They were surviving off the fact that you were buying their bullshit. The fourth and final aspect, we have an off-sign trine, meaning, trines are typically all of the same element. So all Earth would be the actual on-sign trine with this if Pluto was actually retrograde back in Capricorn, but it's in an air sign with Uranus and Taurus and Juno and Virgo. We've got this trine going on. The benefit of this is the revelation of the reality in regards to long-term partnerships and seeing the higher perspective of it all. Not just with who you're with, but maybe who you've already let go of and who's been buried in your life. Who is dead to you or you became dead to them, right? Pluto. The revelation of it. We talk on the channel often about how people find themselves in situations they did not think they would ever be in. like the narcissist and empath paradigm, right? As an example, an empath will pour themselves out to a narcissist and doesn't understand why the narcissist can hurt them and take advantage of them and not love them for all that they do and all they consider. And what happens is, if the empath and the narcissist split, sometimes the empath can become a narcissist. Someone might show love to them. Someone might consider them. Someone might be honest with them. And they are thinking that someone has a secret motive. They are thinking that they're being lied to. They're thinking that they're being cheated on when they're not. They're thinking all kinds of things to help them understand where the narcissist was in their relationship with them prior. How come the narcissist didn't see their love? Because they were hurt before by someone that they gave their all to. And now they don't trust. They have trust issues. Now the empath can understand why the narcissist was the way they were, because there was deep pain there. Likewise, the narcissist might become an empath and get deeply attached to someone who is using them and abusing them and taking advantage of their kindness because they don't believe in love, they don't believe in loyalty, they don't have trust in anybody but themselves, and they're manipulative. The narcissist becomes the empath. This is what is going on here with this off-sign trine. The chance at revelation over deep partnerships where control and vengeance and spite come into play in order to receive a transformed higher perspective. Why the divine, why the universe, spirit, God, source, creator, whatever you want to label it, does what it does. Why the universe connects us to certain people in order to learn things. The highest vibration of the air signs, Aquarius, where we can actually detach and see things from a third-party perspective. If we look at our past experience and we look at our present experience from the outside looking in, wow, you know? Wow. So this is what it must have felt like, right? The narcissist can have the revelation. So this is what it must have felt like to be the empath that was trying to love me when I had trust issues and was just using them because I knew or felt they would never leave me. And I was in my opportunist mentality, my victim mentality, just abusing and using people. Wow, this is what it must have felt like to be them, because I just got used the shit out of by this new person. They could look at the outside, from the outside looking in. Same thing with the empath. And it doesn't matter how you apply that to the dynamic shifts in your life, narcissist, empath, or not. Business relationships, family relationships, friendships, partnerships, it doesn't matter. Wow, this is what it must feel like to be them. This is what it must have felt like. I misunderstood them because I misunderstood myself. I misunderstood the experience and what I was learning until right now. How about that? Uranus shatters. And in this case, it is shattering deep ancestral repeating perspectives. You learned something from your father. Your father learned something from his father. You learned something about or from your mother. They learned something about or from their mother. And it was repeating. And all of a sudden, you have an opportunity to be the cycle breaker. You have an opportunity to be the healer of your bloodline, where your children do not have to face the same unfortunate fate of lesson learning because you just had lightning strike your brain. And you know what you need to do now. Hopefully, it's not too late. Saturn in semi-square to Pluto is going to make you believe that it's too late. Saturn rules time. It's semi-squaring Pluto. It's too late. I'm having this revelation and it's too late. the sesquiquadrate from Neptune to the sun and moon. I've damaged my reputation too much. I've escaped it or avoided it for too long. It's useless. Maybe I deserve to be punished. Right? That's how we get sucked into that pain pattern going on with all of these squares up here and all these sesquiquadrates and all the bullshit. I deserve to be punished, and I deserve my fate. I didn't see it in my ignorance. I escaped it for so long. Didn't want to learn, didn't want to look at myself for so long. And now that I'm having the revelation, it's too late and I should suffer. I'm going to stay in these past life dynamic ships and abandon myself. I'm going to martyr myself into oblivion and run on empty and continue to live a life where I feel dead inside, right? That's the comfort zone. That's the comfort zone. I don't know what it's like to live, truly live and enjoy life. So I'm going to stick to my comfort zone and just continue doing what I do every day, martyring myself, making sure everybody else is happy besides myself, and just swallow my pride. Just swallow it. I'll bury that too. It's a dark hole you can go in. Or you can absolutely use these yods, use these keys, and say, you know what? I got to try the key. The key might work. I've got the revelation. I have faith. I have faith in spirit, right? The divine order, Saturn. I have faith in spirit. That if I learned it now, I'm learning it now for a reason. I can actually take the steps required, right? I can take the steps required, due diligence with my high soul contracts, and avenge the self. I can right my wrongs. And if one door doesn't open, the other door will. Even if the past doors don't open and you can't reconcile with certain people, the fact that you had the revelation and let go of the pain cycle makes you smarter when it comes to investing in the self and who does or doesn't deserve your investments. Your ability to discern increases. Your ability to believe the truth you sense versus the lies you're being fed becomes heightened. You're fucking smarter now. And you're going to take that with you into the next dynamic. Because either way, you got to let the old bullshit go. The self-martyring and the self-punishment and all that shit, you got to let it go either way. So if you open either door, if you take that key and open either door forward with the odds, whether you have the revelation and despite the fact that it feels too late, you try anyway, and you communicate, right? You communicate in big ways. Take actions to communicate with Mars and Jupiter and sextile to the sun. Because you're proud of the version of yourself that you're becoming. You're proud of the way you feel. You're proud of the way you come off now. You're proud of what you can create now. You're in alignment now. You know what to give your energy to. You know how to invest properly. You can actually move forward through that door. Big time communication, a lot of pride in the self and the growth that you've gone through to get you where you are. Breathing life back into the self. Allowing yourself to have faith in the divine and the higher perspective that loves you, that it wouldn't cut you off or cut you short or deprive you of what was meant for you. Truly, one way or the other. That is the power of this transit. Mercury retrograde that kicks off tomorrow is really going to help you start dialing it back, start undoing certain things, start tying up loose ends, right? Mercury retrograde is all about words that start with re-evaluation, reconciliation, remembering, redefinition. All of these different words, when we rewind and go back to tie off loose ends and close things. Reconsider. I'll have to put up a post about it. I made a post last Mercury retrograde. It was all the different words that we love that Mercury retrograde brings. In Virgo and Leo, it is about going back on certain steps that you took that were in misalignment, certain things that you invested in, the charity of the self that were misalignment, where you placed your love and your money that was in misalignment, and giving you a second chance. Mercury retrograde is all about second chances. At the very least, to heal yourself, if not connections with other people. It's a great time. A great time to find closure. Closure of the old door as you walk through a new one. Trust and believe in yourself and the divine that loves you. Trust and believe in yourself and the divine that loves you. You did not go through all of these lessons, through all of these experiences for no reason. You didn't go through them all just to suffer. You went through them all to feel wildly alive, to feel different levels of gratitude that you did not think were possible, to feel levels of joy and peace that you did not know were possible. The divine loves you. Don't forget it. You're going to need to remember that moving forward from this new moon, especially between now and the full moon coming up on the 19th of August, which we're going to get into the secret code name messages in just a bit. Once this live wraps up, I'm going to set up for the new moon in Leo secret code name event that we have going on. And if you want to get your own personal readings for the full moon, you can do that. It's listed in my Etsy shop. All of that info is in the description. All right. I love you guys. I hope that you have found all of this information helpful, not just in understanding where you are with what you're going through, but that other people are also going through these things, and that certain shifts are happening no matter how hard they are to make, because people have to make them. People have to make them and find gratitude, because if you can't choose your own alignment and someone else does, they're literally putting you in a position where you have to choose your own alignment because they've chosen their highest good and it's rippling to you. Okay? Everybody heals. It starts with you. All right. Much love, and I'll see you guys in just a bit. Take care.